Well, if you saw the March 10th edition of the Sunday News, the magazine section, you saw that picture and a nice article about our next guest, who's been here a couple times before, as a matter of fact, Western New York's own Glenn Plaskin, and you probably know, concert pianist, a celebrated biographer, and now does magazine articles on the famous people like Katharine Hepburn and Calvin Klein, and more recently Lena Horne and Senator Edward Kennedy, and is with us this morning. Nice to have you with us. We were saying it's interesting that you've been here a couple times, and both times I've been on assignment or on vacation or something, and we just really have met, I think, officially for the first time this morning.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to have you with us.
We used trick photography in that picture, by the way, in the cover of the magazine.
Yeah.
So I hope this isn't too disappointing for you.
Trick photography. It was that funny. You brought in, in fact, a copy of Horowitz, which was published a couple of years ago, in Japanese, and said, now somewhere on there, your name has got to be there.
I got it in the mail, and I looked and said, where the hell's my name? I don't know where it is, but it's in there somewhere.
We should ask Noriko if she can find it. Interesting, too, the other thing is that what looks like the back of the book is really the cover.
It reads like Hebrew.
All right, let's talk about Senator Edward Kennedy and the circumstances of that interview. It had to be a fascinating person to interview.
Well, it took about 6 months to arrange the interview, and he finally invited me for dinner. And I must say at the beginning, you hope that when you interview somebody that they're going to open up to you.
Sure.
But he really was boring. And so were his children. They kept, I would say, what's it like to be a candidate? And they said, we're not going to answer that question, we're not going to answer that question. In fact, the son finally said, you're asking all the wrong questions. So at the end of the dinner, I couldn't wait to get rid of the children. I said, don't you have something to do? And I was left alone in the room with their father. And he said something that I brought along that I found rather touching. He was sitting there smoking a cigar and getting sort of sad, and there were pictures all around the room of his brothers. And he said this, my brothers were my dearest friends. They were just human beings and wanted to be considered that way, but they were extraordinary. I cared very deeply about them, loved them. I missed them. No day goes by when I don't. That gap in my life will be with me for the rest of my life, no way to bridge that. And he started to cry. So it was, you know, very
You, in fact, you brought a picture of...
most of my interviewees cry. No, I'm kidding.
Do they really, Glenn?
When they read what he said about them, right? In fact, you told me he called you yesterday, right? And did he take exception to... now, we know that Senator Edward Kennedy has gotten somewhat, I'll use the term portly, I don't know. Yeah.
I called him corpulent. Wasn't
Corpulent.
that polite? I thought so.
What did he think of that?
He said he'll be down in weight by the time the article comes out in June. It's for Ladies' Home Journal in June.
Well, do they get an okay? I mean, do you show them what you're going to write about?
Sometimes I do. They don't censor it, but it's good for them to look at it because you want them to check it for something that might have been totally wrong. So I don't mind that at all.
You said, the article in the Sunday paper said that you find women easier to interview than men.
Especially if they're smart. For instance, Katharine Hepburn, she's just smart as you can imagine. And as opposed to, well, I won't say that, but I told her that I'd gone to the White House to interview Mrs. Reagan, and I had enough questions for 3 hours. After 15 minutes, we were done. The woman had nothing to say. And I'm telling Katharine Hepburn that, and she's sitting there, you know how she sounds, and she said, she was a dumb bitch when she's 19, and she was a dumb bitch now.
Oh, no.
And I said, but she's enslaved to the president. She loves him so. And she said, enslavement's the only thing she's fit for.
What?
And then I said, was Mrs. Reagan a good actress? And she said, the worst. That was a great.
Great. Are those in the article?
Oh, no, that's just for you.
You saved that.
Somehow she'll find out about it, I'm
You
sure.
saved that for us. You said something else that I agree with, and that you said stars, the bigger they are, the nicer they are. I think that's true, and I've always found the people who are either on the way up or I hate the expression has-been, but perhaps on the way down, that are somewhat difficult. Why is that, do you think?
I don't know.
Insecurity?
Sometimes you meet somebody and they don't like you. Millicent Fenwick, the former congresswoman from New Jersey, I met her. I went into her house and she didn't even give me a glass of water. Usually, you know, if you're there for 3 hours, they'll say, would you like to go to the bathroom? You know, glass of water. Nothing. And then other people really take to you, like I liked Katharine Hepburn, and I liked Joan Rivers, and I liked Carol Burnett.
You said to me earlier, one of the people that you, I don't know if you say didn't like, but Lucille Ball, I got the feeling you were disappointed.
I've never interviewed her. I just got the feeling when I've seen her interviewed that she looks rather gruff, you know. So.
Let's talk about, you said to me before the show, said we have to talk about IQ because I'm not a smart person.
I have a very low IQ. I absolutely do. I will never forget when I was in 5th grade, I was getting D- in long division. I was no good at it. And I was brought into the principal's office. And my mother was waiting with a thing in her hand. And the principal said, your son is a very low IQ, but don't worry, garbage collectors can be happy too. At which point my mother went,
And hit the teacher or hit you.
right, so the hell with him now, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know Calvin Klein has been, I described in the article, as kind of a mentor, right, for you?
He has been nice. And Cindy, I have a present for you.
I'd love it when
See how
Glenn
we got
comes.
right into
Yeah,
that?
see?
What becomes you most? Obsession.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wait, you have to smell it here.
You have to tell Calvin that I smell it.
If it's disgusting, you better not say so.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Isn't it good?
And I love presents. Give me the cap.
You're gonna
I'll
put
just
some
take
on?
this.
Oh, you
I'll
have to put some
all right,
on.
I'll put some on. You know, I have to ask you about this because you have become quite good friends with Calvin Klein.
That's true.
As Brian said, has become your mentor.
He is a nice guy.
In fact, you have a Calvin Klein suit on. The last time you were here, you said that Calvin had given you clothes and that you gave them away because you didn't like them.
Well, he's making better clothes now.
Did he know that when he gave you the perfume?
I like the perfume, Calvin. It's wonderful. It is.
It's called Obsession.
I've seen the
lovely.
advertisements for it.
You know, you obviously have a lot of fun, Glenn, when you work, but you said you don't think people realize how hard it is to do an interview with a Senator Edward Kennedy or with a Catherine.
It is hard. You know, the morning of the interview, you sit home and you wonder why you were ever born. I mean, you just don't want to do it. I did Lena Horne last Tuesday, and I had seen her show on Broadway, and she was so wonderful. And I got to the hotel, and she came into the room. She said, "Hi, I'm Lena." I mean, she was just so nice, and she told me so many things. I'm not sure if I can repeat any of them.
Well, it hasn't stopped you so far today. I mean, you know. Go ahead. What the heck? We're all friends.
Well, you know, within a half hour, she was telling me that she had been like a piece of ice her whole life, and she never had an orgasm until she was 40. And it was really quite interesting.
I'm sure it was.
You didn't expect that, did you,
Did I
Brian?
ask him to go ahead with that?
This will be my last appearance here, so I might as well have fun, right?
Maybe the last appearance for all three of us. The way we're headed.
Bye.
I'm afraid to ask you anything else. What's Charlie says we're out of time. Just in the nick of time. I have to ask you one more thing, because
Okay.
I mentioned in the article that you eat the same thing for dinner every night. Is that true?
It is true.
I've never known anybody who did that.
It is true. Isn't that boring?
It is
What do you
boring.
eat?
Scrod and mashed potatoes and carrots. And
Every
that's it.
night?
Every night, yeah. I like it.
I guess you must, yes.
I think I'm becoming as loony as some of the people I interview.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure and an experience. I think I'll read the book in Japanese. I may understand it now. Nice to meet you, Glenn.
Nice to meet
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Glenn.
When we come back, we have the news to share with you today. Stay right where you are.
Thanks.